Hi, I just thought I'd run through some of the differences in these two cameras. Well, for a start, look at them head on and you can see the Dazzne is squarer and the Git is more oblong, but that's very deceptive. We'll take them out of their cases. The Git case is definitely better made, and it's got this knurled arrangement on the side where you pull out this tab and twist it round and the door opens sideways and the camera comes out like that. The Git waterproof case is altogether more fragile, really. Opens like this. This is forever falling off, but I see no reason why it shouldn't do the job. And also, that's plastic, that's glass on the Gitup. It's better made, the Gitup one, definitely. Okay, and here we have two cameras. As you can see, the Gitup is a bit smaller. The same width. The Gitup is a bit shorter. It weighs, as we demonstrated in a previous video, quite a lot less. What was it? About 25-30 grams. And you can really feel that. Okay. Now, another big difference between the two is just how easy it is to turn on the P2. You've only got to touch that top button and on it comes. I'll just stop it recording. With the Git, you've got to hold down the button on the front for 3 seconds to get it to come on, which is a huge improvement because every time you pick up the Dazzne, it turns on. It seems to turn on. And here's the two screens side by side. Now, can you see how much brighter the Git one is? Even though the Dazzne one, can you see that? Even though the Dazzne one is slightly bigger, the Git one is just as clear. And to get into the menus, there's good indications on both screens of what's going on. On the Dazzne we got a film icon, we got a wide angle lens icon. It says 5 minutes, which is the length of the clip that we're doing. 2K 30 frames a second, and it gives an approximation of how much time there is recording. The Git, okay, we got the film icon, 1080p 60 frames a second, wide angle, says 30 minutes recording, and we got the anti-shake icon there. Right, now the menus. The menus on the Dazzne are a real pain. Right, you've got to go sort of catch it right. Ugh, bugger. Right, there's the settings on that one. And then you've got to go through them, right? Video parameters, capture parameters, burst parameters, timer parameters, capture setup, system parameters, there's a load more in there, boot mode, boot record, TV mode, screensavers, lamp setting, beep sound, off, manual, blah 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 blah, and there's a return button there. And you go along, and that's to trash the movies you got on it. Default setting, Wi-Fi, and return. Those are all generally very confusing because the English isn't very good. And I find that more confusing than the Git. On the Git, to get the menus, right, there's the video resolution menu. Press the button on the side here. Video resolution. Oops, I changed it. And you have to go all the way through something. This is perhaps a disadvantage. Get back to where you were. That shows how many different settings there are actually. And then press the button on the front and we go loop recording 5 minutes in plain English. Record audio level medium. Date stamp on. Time lapse off. It's just a lot clearer than the Dazzne. If you go to capture parameters, I suppose that's alright. Burst parameters, timer parameters, capture setup, image rotation, metering, movie capture. See, it just says movie capture, but it gives no indication of. It just says off 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. What is that? I've forgotten what setting that is, you see. Loop recording, 5 minutes. That isn't working, it's not deleting off the original files. Quality, white balance, TV, EV. There just seem to be many more settings on the Dazzne, all piled in to one long continuous menu, and it's just more difficult to navigate. Whereas the Gitup, even though the screen's smaller, it's a lot clearer. I just find it easier to use. If we quit out of that and change modes, oops. Right, we're in photo mode. So if you press the side button now, you get all the photo parameters. So by changing modes, you get a different set of menus. Shutter speed, auto, date stamp on, time lapse off, self timer mode off. So the menus are all broken down into different bits. You've got your photo settings when you're in photo mode, you've got your video settings when you're in video mode. I much prefer it like that, I must admit. Okay, the advantage that the Dazzne has at the moment over the Git is that there's an app available for it on the App Store, and that makes changing the settings a lot easier. I hope the Gitup app is meant to be released at the end of this month, and we are at the end of the month. And I just checked the App Store. They say the Apple one is being released first, and there's no sign of it yet. The Dazzne has stopped working properly, and that it's stopped recording the whole time reliably, and also it's got a charging problem. I can't get it to charge, or there's a disparity between the charge it displays and how the battery is actually charged, how far the battery is charged, because I've forgotten how to get out of this now. Oh, I remember. Alright, so you come around, get out of all the menus. There we are, we're out of the menus. Yeah, when the Git one comes along, I sincerely hope we're going to have as many settings as possible on the app, because it is so much easier and so much clearer to change settings on the app. I mean, it's as simple as that. So the more that are on the app, the better. It saves fiddling around, because even though I prefer the Gitup setup with the menus, it's still a hell of a lot easier doing it wirelessly. And that for me is the main purpose of wireless apps. It's, you know, like transferring images is just so slow. You might as well, if you can, just pull the card out and plug it into a computer and just rip the files off that. I suppose remote control, I mean, you can, on most of these apps, you can turn the camera on and off. Sorry, you can only turn it off, you can't turn it on of course, because the camera will be off, but you can set it recording once it's on with most of these apps. I suppose that's of limited use in some situations, but yeah, that's it. I prefer the Git. It's more logically organised. It seems to be more thought gone into it. It's smaller. I'm just going to turn these off now. The buttons work better, the menu system works better, and it's got a better quality case. Now, looking at the availability of these cameras, there's still plenty of Dazznes around for sale, but there hasn't been a firmware update on the Dazzne, and I've been having charging problems. There hasn't been a firmware update since December, and we are now in right at the end of the May, so you know, it's 6 months there hasn't been a firmware update. The Gitup firmware appears to be being updated much more frequently, which is great, which is what you want, you know, it's what you need. I mean, for instance, this came with firmware that allowed me to do that interpolated 4K, but it's not actually mentioned on any of the instructions or the box. If you see the box there, it says 1080p 2K 60 frames a second. I don't think that's right, actually. I think it only does 2K at 30 frames a second. We better check that, hadn't we? But it doesn't mention 4K, and it doesn't mention it in the instructions either. So I'll just check the video resolutions. 720p, 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 WVGA, VGA. 2160p at 24 frames a second. Yeah, that's a bit misleading, that box. But that's it. I think the Git is a better quality job, to be honest. And more thought appears to have been gone into menu system. The case is better constructed. The Dazzne, if you're in the UK, it will cost you 20 quid less. And I think that shows a bit in the quality. And as I say, this one is now useless to me because it's just not behaving reliably. So, the great decommissioning until there's a firmware update will now take place, and this is what I'm going to do with the Dazzne. I can't really sell it because it's not recording reliably. It needs the firmware update before I can sell it, and then I dare say it'll be fine, but until then I'm a bit stuffed. So this is what is happening to the Dazzne. You go in there, mate. Oh. Here it goes. It's a great shame because I thought I'd found Nirvana when I found the Dazzne. It's also noticeable that vibrates on the bike a lot more. I'll just show you how I've got it mounted on the bike, and the Git is mounted this way as well. As I was going along with the Git, I was noticing that it was vibrating a lot less than the Dazzne. Let's look at that. Yeah, you see, it's less tall. Can you see how, because the Git is more of an oblong and the Dazzne is more of a square, the Dazzne is taller, therefore there's more weight further up, therefore it's vibrating more. I think that's it. That would explain it. But that's it. That's the end of the Dazzne until a firmware update comes along. As I say, I can't really sell it until it's fixed, and I'm sure a firmware update would stand a good chance of fixing the charging problems at least. But that's it. Bye bye Dazzne for the time being. Hello Git. Thanks for listening.